What's up, everybody? This is a Ringside Report Network news update. Braun Strowman released by the WWE, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Lana, Murphy, and more. All released today by the WWE. Let's get right into it. Big news from the WWE. Braun Strowman has been released. WWE has come to terms on the releases of Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett. WWE today wishing them the best in all of their future endeavors. Shocking news from World Wrestling Entertainment. Braun Strowman, a former champion, a former world champion in the WWE, a guy that's been with the company since 2013, a guy that wrestled for the WWE Championship against Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre on the last pay-per-view at WrestleMania Backlash, one of the matches that people seem to like more than the rest on that pay-per-view. Braun Strowman seemed to be improving in the ring, seemed to be decent on the microphone, definitely a giant, a guy standing around 6'8", 37 years of age, still a lot of years left in front of him, unless the WWE knows something that we don't, as far as the health of Adam Scherr, now formerly Braun Strowman. He has been released from the WWE. This has got to be the most shocking. It's the most shocking to me. Aleister Black also sent home, no longer part of the WWE roster, a guy that's been on SmackDown consistently for the past couple of months at least, doing those promos about the Dark Father, reading from that weird book. It hasn't been great, but he has been on TV. He did seem to start a feud with, I think, was it Kevin Owens on SmackDown or somebody? He attacked somebody. He's coming out. He's around. Wasn't on SmackDown last week, and now he's been released. Ruby Riott was on SmackDown last week, right? Wasn't it Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan against Nia Jax and Shayna? Or was it Natty and Tamina? I think it was Natty and Tamina, right? That was SmackDown last week. Ruby Riott wrestled for the WWE 5 days ago. She's gone. Lana wrestled for the WWE 2 days ago on Monday Night Raw, in a losing effort with her tag team partner Naomi, losing to Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. Lana released from the WWE. Of course, her husband, formerly Rusev, now Miro, got his release a few months back. He's now the TNT champion over in AEW, doing pretty well for himself. And of course, that's what everybody thinks when the WWE releases people. AEW. I think Aleister Black would make sense in AEW. I think Lana would make sense in AEW. I think Ruby Riott would make sense in AEW. I'm not too sure about Braun Strowman. I am not sure about Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is a guy who, during the pandemic, said, had no sympathy for indie wrestlers, saying, well, you should have saved enough, you should have worked harder, you should have done better, Braun Strowman was taking a lot of heat at the time, and I think he made a few enemies in the wrestling business. This happened back in March of 2020, talking about indie wrestlers getting supported from, crowdfunding and stuff like that. And Braun Strowman actually spoke out against that. He said, here we go with more of the somebody pay for my bills stuff. If you can't afford to pay your bills, maybe you should change professions. That's why I quit strongman. I loved it, but I couldn't afford to live. So instead of making a GoFundMe or a Patreon wanting someone else to take care of me, I went out and worked harder than I ever have in my life to get to where I am. What happened to being accountable for your own actions? And that was a direct quote from Braun Strowman's Instagram, and he took a lot of heat because not everybody's 6'8" and is going to get a look from the WWE. Not everybody looks like Braun Strowman. He's got to recognize that he's been blessed with certain genetic gifts that will help him in his career of professional wrestling and getting a look in the WWE. Braun Strowman never had to be an indie wrestler. He came from strongman. He's never really been in the real-life professional wrestling business. He's been in the sports entertainment business. And I'm not so sure that Braun Strowman wants to be in the professional wrestling business. So I don't know if Braun Strowman actually finds his way in another wrestling company. I think AEW would be stupid not to inquire. He's a guy that is a big name, big guy. Like I said, 37 years old. You think he's got several years ahead of him, good years. He could do some damage in AEW. He would be fun to see, but does he have the passion for professional wrestling? Does he want to really do this? No doubt he would get paid well by AEW, but is he the guy you want in your locker room? I don't know. A lot of indie guys there. A lot of guys that Braun Strowman would have to have serious sit-downs with to kind of iron out some of the differences. So I'm not so sure that Braun Strowman finds himself in AEW or even continues in the world of professional wrestling. I hope he does, but I'm not sure because prior to the WWE, he was not a professional wrestler. So who knows if he'll go back to it. Aleister Black was a professional wrestler way before he was in the WWE. He was Tommy End. He wrestled all around the world, all around Europe, of course, where he's from. But his wife is American. His wife, Zelina Vega, also released a few months ago by the WWE. People have been waiting for her to turn up. Apparently, she was at the WWE Performance Center not too long ago. People were thinking, oh, maybe all is right and Aleister and Zelina land with the WWE. Maybe Zelina's getting ready for a comeback. And maybe she is, but Aleister's not. He just got released. Maybe Zelina isn't coming back. Maybe they'll both show up in AEW together. I think he would be a great addition to AEW. I think he would do very well there. WWE could not figure out what to do with this guy. He's been in the company not that long, since 2016. He signed in June 2016. So, I mean, a 5-year run with the WWE is not so bad. Hopefully he made some money. But NXT he did well, but as far as the main roster, it never really clicked. It never really worked for Aleister Black. Kind of stop and start. Just removed from TV for a long time after Zelina was having her issues. Then he came back with this new gimmick that lasted like a month or two, and now he's been released. But he's a real professional wrestler. This is a guy who's got friends in professional wrestling. He's going to land on his feet. 36 years of age, good wrestler, has size, has a look. He knows what he's doing in the ring. So I think he's going to find his way into AEW or Impact or New Japan or something like that. I think he's going to find his way in a big company making 6 figures and doing well in professional wrestling because he's that type of talent. He's got the passion for pro wrestling. He's got the connections. I don't know about Braun Strowman. I wish him the best, but I'm confident in Aleister Black's future, in Tommy End's future. Shout out to the people on the chat. This is an impromptu show. I'm just jumping on, and people are here. Lauren Cronish is on the chat. Ray Cruz is on the chat. Alex Tarris. Alex was asking me on Twitter to come on. This is for you, my friend. Brian Firth. He says his hat arrived today. Looks sick. Nice. You got your hat over at merch.ringsidereport.net. Thank you for getting the hat, Brian. And don't forget, everybody watching, like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. We do appreciate it. But hit that like button. Shout out to Brian Firth. Shout out to Alex Tarris. Lauren. Everybody watching right now, you can subscribe to the channel. Crazy news in the WWE today. Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett all been released. Santana Garrett has been mostly in NXT. She's no longer with the company. Ruby Riott wrestled on SmackDown last week. She's been teaming with Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan still with the company. She tweeted out 19 minutes ago, whoever is lucky enough to get Heidi Lovelace on their roster, you win. And Heidi Lovelace was Ruby Riot's indie name, and no doubt she will go back to that or a similar name. She's 30 years of age. She was a wrestler before she was in the WWE for quite some time. She wrestled all around, and she's going to stick to it. You haven't seen the last of Ruby Riott? I'm surprised they let her go. Of course, they kept Liv Morgan, which is, for now. It's a little surprising that they kept Liv Morgan. I know they just released her fiance, husband, boyfriend, Bo Dallas. I don't know what they are, but they're together. I think they might be engaged or married or something. I don't know. But, they released her husband, fiance, whatever, a tag team partner, but she's still with the company. Shaky ground, right? You look at Aleister Black, his situation. Zelina Vega released a little while ago. He wasn't on TV. People thought, he was going to get released. They bring him back, start up another thing, and then they release him. Lana, Miro goes away. Rusev gets released. You think Lana's still there? Lana kind of has a thing. She works for a while. She was appearing regularly on TV. She was getting put through a table by Nia Jax for like 12 weeks in a row on Raw. She was in a tag team with Natty for a while. Then she was in a tag team with Naomi. They had a whole entrance. They had matching outfits. They were a real tag team. And now she's gone. Lana just gone. Say what you want about Lana, but she's much improved from what she started and what she is right now. Much improved. And her husband is a fantastic professional wrestler. They're great together as a team. I think people would love to see them together in AEW. I think Lana finds her way in AEW or, does TikTok and Instagram for a living and does great doing that. She could be a Twitch streamer and make, hundreds of thousands of dollars. She doesn't have to wrestle. Lana's great on all sorts of social media platforms. She's really good at it. She knows how to work that gimmick. And she could do well just doing that. So I'm not worried about Lana. I think she's going to land on her feet. Disappointing that WWE lets her go, I suppose, but it just kind of clears the room for new blood. These things happen, right? These things kind of happen. I wasn't shocked about the Lana release. Of course, Naomi's still there. She was Lana's tag team partner, but she can move on as a singles star. I don't expect the WWE to release Naomi anytime soon. She's married to Jimmy Uso, and Jimmy's Roman's cousin, and Roman is the head of the table, so you know how that goes. She's in the family. She's not going anywhere. But Braun Strowman, surprising. Aleister Black, kind of surprising. Murphy, where's Murphy been? Murphy was in that thing with Aaliyah Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. But you knew Murphy was in trouble once that Aaliyah Mysterio thing got totally dropped, and then Dominic and Rey were just a tag team, and Murphy ceased to exist. And then Seth came back as the Messiah after he was on paternity leave, and Murphy was like, please let me be your follower again. And Seth was like, no, you suck. Get out of here, Murphy. You're like, oh, Murphy's not doing so good. So I'm not surprised, but he's a talented professional wrestler too. And no doubt he could continue in pro wrestling. Buddy Murphy, real name Matthew Adams, from Australia, 32 years old, in tremendous shape. He could find his way. I see him in Impact. I think Impact would be a good home for him. I think he could really stand out there and do very well and have some great matches. New Japan, too. I think AEW, I don't know. For some reason, I don't see him fitting in that well there, but maybe. But if I were a Buddy Murphy or Matt Adams or Matt Silva or whatever he's going to call himself, I would look at Impact or New Japan. I think he'd do well there, and I think they'd give him a look. So, a lot of people released by the WWE today, a lot of talented people. Santana Garrett, to be honest, I don't know that much about. I've heard good things, though. I know people like Santana Garrett. 33 years old. She's been wrestling all around the world. She's a real professional wrestler. She's been in NXT, mostly officially signed to a contract. She kind of was in the Mae Young Classic for a few years and stuff, but she officially signed in NXT in 2019, so she hasn't really been on the roster much. She was in the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble. lasted 4 minutes and 31 seconds, eliminated by Rhea Ripley. Santana Garrett. AEW women's division would be helped out by Santana Garrett. But Aleister Black, I'd put him in AEW. Lana, AEW, or, TikTok, and that'd be fine. Murphy, Impact, or New Japan. Ruby Riott, AEW for sure. Great pickup for them. And Santana Garrett, too. I think, the AEW women's division needs some star power, needs some people that are recognizable faces. And Lana and Ruby Riott are certainly recognizable faces. Santana Garrett, less so, but she's a solid wrestler who's been around, who can add some experience and have some good, solid wrestling matches on AEW. Like, she'd be a good babyface opponent for Britt Baker for a few matches where Britt can kind of look good and Santana can have a good match with her and Britt can win type of thing. So I think all the women that were released should get a look by AEW. Aleister Black, AEW for sure. I would really want to sign him if I were Tony Khan and that whole crew. Braun Strowman, I don't know. I'd like to have a nice sit-down with Adam Scherr, see where his head is at, but he may not be in pro wrestling anymore. I'm shocked that the WWE let him go. He's such a massive guy, but they've been around him. They signed him to like a multi-year deal worth a lot of money like a year ago. So for him to be gone is very surprising. Very surprising. And the WWE just releasing all this talent, kind of out of nowhere. This is not usually a time of the year when they release a ton of talent, especially kind of high-profile talent like Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, people who have been with the company for a while. It comes as a little bit of a surprise, and they just, release a lot of office workers, people that work in different departments. They shut down certain departments, and people are wondering, what does this mean? What is the WWE doing? Are they getting ready to be sold? That apparently is going around. Like the WWE might be getting bought out by somebody. And there is a rumor out there that somebody could be Tony Khan and the Khan family, which I don't buy, but good God, imagine that. Right? Imagine AEW buying WWE. That's the move that no one would expect, right? But they got deep pockets. They own the Jacksonville Jaguars. They own a football team, in England. They own AEW. They own football stadiums. Like, they got money. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It just seems crazy. But I've seen crazy things happen in combat sports over the past 30 years. So you never know. But is the WWE getting rid of some of these people to be sold? Are they kind of cutting costs so that they can be a nice, juicy package for somebody to buy off? I don't know. But it's definitely worth a look, and it's definitely an interesting theory going around these days. So I don't know. Fascinating stuff happening in the world of WWE. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You can hit us up over at ringsidereport.net. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel so we can keep giving you videos just like this all the time. On after Raw, on after Dynamite. I'll be back on here tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time for Ringside Report MMA. We're going to be previewing some UFC stuff every Thursday night, 8 p.m. for the MMA show, and then every Friday night after Smackdown, 10 p.m. for Wrestling Uncensored. We'll see you later.